So when somebody clicks on the balloon, we're opening a pipeline to the file, and then we're saying, okay, we're going to start with the very first thing in the file. We're going to read the first line, and then we're going to check to see if there's anything else, and if there is, we're going to do it again, and then we're going to do it again, and then we're going to do it again, and then eventually it's going to have nothing else to read. What was the special name for nothing else in computer science? Jacob? Null. And it will stop. Okay, and that's where we left it. So I think a lot of people were able to read in the file, and then at the end of the game, it writes out the file. So note the high score here, and I'm going to play and hopefully beat it under the name Amazing Person. Okay, gotta get to at least 11 seconds. Yeah. Oh, I think I got there though, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, so I did it. So now if I reset and run it. Oh, shoot, that was unexpected. Broke my own example. And it's also 86. Anyway, what should happen is it should read the high score. Why did it break? Now it's going to bother me, so we have to figure it out. I think it might just be a space. It was in here, scores, and yeah. So there's my issue. I didn't add it properly. So if I were doing this really well, I've got a couple of problems here. Advanced questions, but does anyone see? The obvious problem is here. I need that to go to the next line. Believe it or not, there's another problem. Anyone see it? This is another of my unfair questions. What's the last thing you see in the file? What's the last line? Just play down for me. What's the last line from that file? Why do you guys talk so quiet? Amazing person. Amazing person. Amazing person. So we all look at that file as normal people and we say, amazing person. But then Xander says, right? Look at my cursor. So the fact that my cursor is there means that what I did here when I was writing out the file, so I go to the code where I was writing out the file. So we play the game, the die, so over here is where we wrote out the file, right? And remember Josh told me that I could put this line in the code. So Josh ruined everything. Josh, this is all Josh's fault. He told me to put a new line character, and it works, and that's not, I'm just kidding. That is absolutely something you should do. But when you put a new line character in, it says, okay, well, I guess I'm putting a new line in. And then when your read code goes to work, your read code goes, oh, I guess there's something here, I'll read it. Because don't forget, computers are dumb. And so the computer will read that, read that, read that, read that, read that, and it will read this because there is something there, and it won't stop until it gets to that line where there actually is nothing. So you do have to be careful of spaces and blanks and all that stuff. So it's fixable, but I'm not going to take the time to fix it because I want to move on. Okay, here's the code. Actually, sorry, I'll backspace that. So now it's fixed, and now I save it, close it, and if I run it now, with any luck, and let's clear the terminal window. You think it still won't work?
Because the space is after when you write it. So it will write it on the same line that the space.
Well, let's find out. So I click the balloon, and yeah, it worked. So I'm okay now. So as you can see, I wrote a little bit of code that recognized the high score. Here it is. And this is why it was kind of unfair for you to try it. It's right here. So I'll give you a second to read it. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make you talk to humans. Talk to the people beside you. See if you can figure out a little bit of what it does, and then we'll talk about it. So I'll give you 1 minute. Literally 1 minute. Talk to people. You guys should be saying, "Sweet, take your pen." I'll be like, "Oh, thanks, guys." Take your pen. Don't talk about your weekend. Talk about the code. What's your head count?
Nobody is gonna figure that out. Like if we
Who's that here? Page and. Oh yeah, Eva. Okay. All right. In my vast experience of teaching, I've realized that some people will actually look at that code and question things and try to figure things out with other people, and that's awesome because that's going to take you far. Other people sit there and reflect on it, and they actually do it, but they do it all by themselves because they're introverted and shy, and that's okay too. But there are also people who just sit there and wait for it to end, so Mr. Swain will just tell people what's happening, and that's not good. So I hope when you do have those opportunities, you actually think about them. Let's start here. And I have a comment at the top, and it says numchars inline, line text dot length. Can someone tell me what that line is doing? Aiden? Okay, so this line is determining the number of characters on the line. How many characters on that top line? Ahmad? 8. Okay, so 8 here. There would also be 9 there, and so on. Okay, and then here it says line text dot substring, and then we have an open bracket, a closed bracket, and we've got a comma in the middle. So we're passing information through to some substring function. And luckily, these functions or methods, they're named pretty well. So substring, what is a substring? Example. Yes, Ahmad? A string and a string. So here we have Cameron, that's a string, and his name Cam would be a substring. On would be a substring. Okay, so a substring is basically a word found inside a word. So what I'm asking it to do is get the substring that goes from this index to this index. Now, we already know this one. That was the number of characters. So just looking at this example as right here, that was 8. So we're saying get the substring from some number to 8. So now we got to deal with this. Thoughts? I'll give you a hint. Look up. Because this says dash end, and we got to go and find out what that variable is. That's a variable. Somewhere in here it's got to be defined. So you look around for dash end. Oh, it says if dash end again. And then there's this. And that says, for those of you who can't see, line text dot index of, and then there's a, what do you call that? Hyphen or dash? Dash? All right, we'll call it dash. Xander? So it actually takes the index of the hyphen. So what that means, that J right there has an index of 0. That has an index of 1, 2, 3. Okay? So all of these have like, they're ordered essentially, but they start at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So essentially dash end is going to become the index of the hyphen on each line. So in this case, what would dash end be? In that case, the top one. James? What would the index of the hyphen be? Zero, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So it's easy once you know what you're doing, right? All it's really saying is find me the spot where the hyphen is. And so for John, it's going to be at 0, 1, 2, 3. For Owen, it's going to be at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. For Xander, it's going to be at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The point is the hyphen is at different spots every time. So dash end is a variable that holds the location of the hyphen. Now that's really important because then what would dash end plus 1 be every time? What would dash end plus 1 be? Guys? Sorry, Brian? Okay. Yeah, we'll give it a shot. Every single time, what do you notice is the first thing after the hyphen? Yeah. Numbers. Which means I've just found out where the score lives. Right? If I can locate the hyphen, that means I know at the very next spot, that's the start of the score, and then the length of the string is the end of the score. So I've just figured out a way to parse out, in other words, the substring from 1 ahead of the hyphen to the length of the whole thing. That gives me the score. And once I can get that, this is just me making it into an integer instead of a string value. And then I just add it to a list. And I want to stop soon. I've made what we call a list. I'll do this later. But I add all the scores to a list. And I print them out to the screen. And then I get this line right here. And take a look at that. Because that line right, or that stuff right there. Sorry, I said line. But that stuff right there. Some of you have seen it before and some of you haven't. But what I would like is to, and give it 30 seconds, but can anyone sum that up in a tweet? 140 characters or less. Just give it a minute. I guess when I highlighted it, it's hard to read. Sorry.
So when the integer x, you're coming close to 140 characters. Integer x equals the scores.
Try not to do it in code. What does that chunk of code do?
It reads all the scores, and the highest one is the highest one.
Here's high score. So see at the top it says int high score equals 0. So that's saying I'm going to make a variable called high score, and I'm going to start it at 0. And then the for loop says, okay, let's go through all the scores. And we have them as numbers now, right? And it says if x. Now x represents each score going through the loop. So the first time x would represent 14. And then it asks us a question. Is 14 higher than the current I-score? Well, the current I-score is 0, so it's there. Yeah. So now, 14 becomes the I-score. And then we do it again. It's 5 greater than the current I-score. 14. No. So we don't swap them. And then we do it again. It's 22 higher than the current. Yes, it is. So we do swap it. And we keep going. So basically, that loop goes through all of the scores, and it keeps comparing, and it holds on to the highest one. All right. And I've taken too long doing that because you all look very sad, and it's Monday morning, and that was probably mean to do on a Monday morning. But I did issue a challenge, and I wanted to make sure that I went over exactly how to do it. So this is being recorded, and for those of you who really want to add this, and for those of you who are going to do a video game and might want to actually show the high scores, this is going to be useful to you. So, in general, one more time, we find out where the hyphen is, we parse out, and if you haven't heard that, it just means kind of snip out just the score part. We turn it into an integer, we add it to a list of all scores, and then we have this little loop that just identifies the highest one. That's it. Okay? You all look very bored, so I'm going to move on. Are there any questions before I do? Okay. Oh, yeah, Ty.
How much of this are we going to have to include for again?
Your game is going, I mean, I'm not really ready to introduce the game. I'm going to do that on Wednesday, but the game is going to be very much what you want it to be. And so, do you have to do something like this? No. But will it, help your mark? Yeah. So that's up to you. No problem. Anything else? All right. Jumping and falling. So the good news is that jumping and falling is not nearly as hard as people think it is. Bad news is, if you don't like physics, you're not going to love this either. Luckily, everyone loves physics. All right, so what I would like you to do here is watch this and see if you can figure out how it's functioning. And you know everything you need to know to do this. You really do. So I press run, and Mario will fall. Mario. The plumber will fall. Now, you can already see that there is an error because he is embedded in the brick, which is problematic. But if I press the space bar, then he'll jump. And if I jump a little bit, you can see that he doesn't go down into the brick. But if I jump a lot, then he will. And you can still move left or right. And it would be quite easy to add a sound every time he jumps. And this is I added, and I know that there are problems, but I did this on purpose because I just wanted to add a little bit of code, and we're going to build on it as we go. Yes? Not yet. Thank you, though. So I'm going to show you my code, and I want you to recognize that you know most of it. Like you've seen all of this before. So right, left, up, down. So everything from here to here, we know. That's not something we need to concern ourselves with. Now I have a space button. And when I press on the space button, it says VAC equals -8. And then if we look up top, we see that, there's a variable here. So Mario has a variable, and Mario has a variable called VAC. Anybody have any idea what VAC might stand for? Danica? Not velocity acceleration. Josh?
Vertical.
So jumping and falling, I'm really only worried about altering the vertical, right? The horizontal is still going to behave as per norm. So when we hit the space bar, we're going to all we're doing is we're setting this variable's value to -8. Okay. Now, it says set location, get x, and then we have this. And this line is very similar to what we do when we want to move down or up. Okay, so Mario. I guess I shouldn't actually really have it down now that I think about it. But I do have a button that moves him up, and I do have a button that will move him down. But when I'm moving around the screen, all I'm doing is I'm adding pixels to the current location. So, and we did this on the very first day, right? If we go left, we're adding 3 pixels every time. If we go right, we're adding 3 pixels every time. So what I'm trying to convince you of is that there's no magic here. When we jump and fall, we're still just altering the number of pixels that we're going. Okay, so VAC, this variable here, is 0 until when? Given the code that you've seen so far. Ethan? Right. So it's 0 until we hit the spacebar. So in the ACT method, notice that this is always running, right? And what I mean is, like, this here is only going to run if we press the right button. And this here is only going to run if we press the left button. But this code right here is always running. So that's why when we start, Mario falls right away. Because something's going on with VAC. It all has to do with the vertical acceleration. So as we scroll down a little bit more, we get into how it actually works. But it's not that much. So we have, a brick, and we have a lot of bricks that form a platform. And Mario essentially says, okay, well, if I am actually hitting a brick, I want to set VAC to 0, which makes sense, right? If I actually land on a brick, then the vertical acceleration, what's my vertical acceleration right now? 0. Okay, but if I am not currently on a brick, the vertical acceleration is going to go. Have we seen that before? Does everybody know what that means? What does that mean? Do you remember what that means? It was adding, that's right. You knew the answer. Clay, come on, Clay. How are you?
Well, I'm cleaning out my basement. I found some of these that I thought you might find useful in one of your computing courses.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go.
Very nice.
I'm certainly not going to be able to make 200 brochures for myself. So.
I'll get my tutors to make 200 brochures.
Oh.
Here you go, man.
Yeah. So for whatever course, because Jamie said that you might use it next Octo in the other UTT or something.
Yeah, I might.
Anyway,
Awesome.
enjoy.
Thank you. Brochure. Anyone want some brochure paper? You want a brochure? Yeah. What are you going to make a brochure with? Myself. Yourself? Yeah. Oh, I just want. I might as well throw it in the recycle. And guess what? That's it. That's all there is. So it says, if we're landing on the brick, then stop vertically accelerating. But if we're not on the brick, then VAC is going to go up by 1. Now, if we think about it, and if you watch it closely, does it look like Mario is falling at the same speed, or is he increasing? Mario is increasing, okay? And watch, I'm going to press this button, which I haven't hit yet in this class. Watch, act. Act will run the act cycle once. So you have to watch carefully the first time especially. Did he move? So what do you notice is happening? So let's replace getting faster with different language. Can we do that, Cam? True. But keeping in mind that I can't just say Mario accelerate. Code-wise, what is happening here? Aiden? I think you had it. Okay. Yeah, Josh? By yeah, we're almost there. Yeah? Right. So, if we do that again, and I click act, I actually don't think he moves at all the first time. No, he doesn't. But then, he moves by... Oh, crap. Sorry. I think I messed that up. I had a little bug in my game. Should go back to 0. Okay, there we go. I don't know why I did it. Okay, so watch. Act, and I don't think he moved. Now, 1. Now we move by 2, then by 3, then by 4, then by 5, then by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, I guess we're up to 12. That's something I haven't shown you yet. You can actually right-click on a sprite, and you can click Inspect, and it shows you the properties of the sprite. So I can see that we're up to 12. If I click it again, I hope we're at 13. Yep, 13. And so that is how we kind of fake acceleration and falling, is that we move by an increasing amount of pixels every time. Until... Oh yeah, and the brick has nothing. The brick's just a platform. Until we hit the brick. So what I'm going to try to do, you're not going to like me for this, but I'm hoping that I can get you to agree that this is nothing new. And I mean, this is really nothing new. All you're doing is you're setting an acceleration. You're moving, and then you're checking to see if you hit a brick. So in general, key control, which up and down you don't even really need. So key control left and right, spacebar, moving, and then checking to see if you hit the brick. I'm going to ask you to do this by yourself, and I'm not going to show you my code. That's my goal here. Don't take a picture. So before I do that, does anybody have any other questions on anything else they see on the screen here before I let you go and try to do this on your own? Yeah, Ty? No. Thank you for asking, and thank you for being honest with that. Because the point of this is I want everybody to know how to do it, not just to copy it. Yeah? Okay. Mario. I will get better at that. Yep. No, don't worry about terminal velocity. Yeah.
That'd be really easy.
Say that again.
Would Sean Ishuit and Sean Ryan Hewitt please return to room 203?
One more time.
Why did he sink into the brick?
Good question. Why does he sink into the brick? I was hoping that somebody would ask that. Owen?
Because they get text when it's the middle of the brick.
No, actually. Yes and no. But remember, we're telling Mario to move by and that's exactly why I want to do this, because Mario doesn't know when they've hit the brick, right? So has Mario hit the brick right here? No. Okay, well, increase VAC, which is really, VAC is really just saying the number of pixels to move down by. So not hitting the brick, okay, now you're going to 16, 17, 18, and more and more and more, and finally so that's what I mean right there. Mario is not yet hitting the brick. And that means that Mario is about to move down by 23 pixels, which is going to put Mario in the brick, right? And so Mario is following our exact instruction. And there will be a fix for that. Like, we have to build in a fix to make sure that that doesn't happen. And it's not that hard to do, but that's why. Yep.
Usually Mario doesn't accelerate in the game. How would you do that?
You-
Not accelerating, but still jumping.
Well, there already is, right? We're kind of faking some acceleration. So
How would you not make acceleration? Because Mario in the game doesn't accelerate.
when Mario falls.
Yeah, he doesn't accelerate.
I disagree.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if he has the squirrel thing, he kind of floats down. You could argue there's no acceleration there, but I think in general, when he jumps, and we haven't done the jump yet. All I really am focusing on here is the fall, but the jump. So in the jump, what I'm really doing, remember how I said set the vertical acceleration to -8. Don't forget, vertical acceleration is really just controlling pixels. So now we are moving -8 pixels, right? So I can't do spacebar and act at the same time. I wish I could. But I can press it, and then it starts going up, and then I go -8, -7, -6, -5, -4, and then it'll hit 0, where you get the plateau, and then it starts coming back down. So really, we're just altering the pixels every time. There's one other thing no one's asked me, but maybe I'll just let you go, I guess. Yeah?
What happens to this platform above your head?
Yeah, because you ran into that last year, didn't you?
We all did.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Baby steps. Nobody asked me about the platform itself. Look at the brick. It's a brick. How did I make the platform? I did. So, we haven't really gone over loops, but that I will leave up on the board for you to peruse and check. But okay, that's enough. Go ahead. Yes, you will have to download stuff from the internet. Yes, go ahead and do so. You don't have to use Mario. You can use Mega Man if you want. And please start a new project. So new scenario. Remember, new Java scenario, not Sky. New Java scenario. And make sure that you're saving it. All this stuff you're going to need when you do your summit.